The Galactic Council chamber fell silent when Admiral Yeltris of the Veloran Supremacy finished speaking. The holographic display behind him showed the advancing Void Swarm fleet, a mass of black ships that consumed everything in their path. In 300 cycles, they had destroyed 47 worlds and killed over 1 trillion sentient beings. "We have tried everything," Admiral Yeltris said, his blue scales rippling with fear. "Our weapons cannot pierce their shields. Our fastest ships cannot outrun their hunters. The Void Swarm does not negotiate. They do not take prisoners. They simply consume." The representatives from 100 civilized worlds sat in stunned despair. The Velorans had the largest fleet in the galaxy. If they could not stop the swarm, then no one could. "There is one option we have not tried," said a quiet voice from the back of the chamber. Every head turned to look at Ambassador Threxus, a small gray being from the observation world of Nexar. The Nexari were scholars who studied other species, but rarely spoke in council meetings. "Speak," commanded High Chancellor Valmak, his ancient face showing a desperate hope. Ambassador Threxus stood and walked to the center of the chamber. "For centuries, we Nexari have studied the galaxy's most dangerous worlds. Planets with crushing gravity, poisonous atmospheres, extreme temperatures, and deadly predators. We call these worlds death worlds because they are hostile to all known life." "We know of death worlds," Admiral Yeltris said impatiently. "What does this have to do with the Void Swarm?" "Everything," Threxus replied. "Because on these death worlds, life still exists. Not just simple organisms, but intelligent species who have evolved to survive conditions that would kill any of us in moments. These species are incredibly strong, fast, and adaptable. They are natural warriors." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Most civilized species avoided death worlds entirely. The idea of intelligent life on such planets seemed impossible. "We have identified 37 Deathworld species in the galaxy," Threxus continued. "Most have never made contact with the wider galactic community. They exist in isolation, fighting to survive on their terrible homeworlds. But there is one species that has begun to reach beyond their world. They call themselves humans." The holographic display changed to show a planet covered in blue oceans and green land masses, swirling with white clouds. Data scrolled alongside the image. "Earth," Threxus said. "Gravity at 1 standard units but with tectonic instability that causes massive earthquakes. Electromagnetic storms that disrupt technology. A wildly unstable climate that shifts from frozen wasteland to burning desert. The atmosphere contains a highly corrosive gas they call oxygen. The planet is covered with liquid water, which most species find deadly. And it is filled with predators, diseases, and poisonous plants." Admiral Yeltris stared at the data in horror. Nothing should be able to survive there. "And yet humans not only survive, they thrive," Threxus said. "They have spread across their entire planet. They have begun to explore their solar system. They are resilient, creative, and completely unafraid of danger. In their short history, they have survived extinction-level events that would have ended any other species." "One primitive species cannot defeat the Void Swarm," a Kelloran delegate scoffed. "No, they cannot," Threxus agreed. "But what if we brought together all 37 Deathworld species? What if we gave them our technology, our ships, and our resources? What if we asked them to fight the war that we cannot win?" The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted objections, fears, and questions all at once. High Chancellor Valmak had to call for order 3 times before the noise subsided. "This is madness," Admiral Yeltris said. "You want to arm dangerous primitives with advanced weapons. They could turn on us." "They might," Threxus admitted, "but the Void Swarm will definitely destroy us. Which risk would you prefer?" The debate continued for hours, but in the end, desperation won. The Galactic Council voted to approve the Deathworld Initiative. They would make contact with the 37 Deathworld species and ask them to form an alliance against the Void Swarm. Ambassador Threxus was chosen to lead the contact mission. He selected a diplomatic ship with minimal weapons and a small crew, hopping to appear non-threatening. Their first destination was Earth. The journey took 3 standard cycles. When they finally entered Earth's solar system, Threxus felt his heart beating faster. The planet grew larger in the viewscreen, a beautiful sphere of blue and green that somehow harbored the deadliest conditions imaginable. "Sir, we are being scanned," his pilot reported. "Primitive electromagnetic signals. They know we are here." "Open a communication channel," Threxus ordered. "Broadcast our peaceful intentions in all known languages." For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then a message came through, translated by the ship's computer into Galactic Standard. "Unknown vessel, this is United Earth Space Command. Identify yourself and state your purpose." Threxus took a deep breath. "This is Ambassador Threxus of the Galactic Council. We come in peace with a request for your help. The galaxy is under attack by an enemy we cannot defeat. We believe that humanity may be our only hope." There was a long pause. Then the human voice returned, and Threxus could hear something strange in the tone. It took him a moment to identify it as excitement. "Ambassador Threxus, you are cleared to land at Geneva Spaceport. We will meet you there. And Ambassador, welcome to Earth." The landing was rough. Earth's atmosphere buffeted the ship with violent winds, and the gravity pressed down on Threxus like a heavy weight. When the ramp lowered and the hatch opened, a wave of heat and strange smells washed over him. The oxygen in the air made his skin tingle with discomfort. A group of humans waited at the bottom of the ramp. Threxus had studied images of them, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall and muscular, with strange flat faces and unsettling forward-facing eyes. They moved with a fluid grace that spoke of hidden strength. One human stepped forward. She had dark skin and black hair pulled back from her face. Unlike the others, she wore a uniform covered in medals and insignia. "Ambassador Threxus, I am Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Military Council. We have been waiting for this moment for a very long time." Threxus was surprised. "You knew we would come." Commander Chen smiled, revealing white teeth that looked disturbingly like those of a predator. "Ambassador, we have been watching the stars for centuries, hoping we were not alone. When you describe a galaxy-spanning civilization under attack by a powerful enemy, you are not delivering bad news. You are giving humanity exactly what we have always dreamed of, a fight worth having." In that moment, Threxus felt the first stirring of hope. Perhaps these Deathworlders were exactly what the galaxy needed. The meeting took place in a large room filled with human leaders from every nation on Earth. Threxus presented the situation to them: the Void Swarm, the failed attempts to stop it, and the desperate plan to unite Deathworld species into a fighting force. He expected fear, hesitation, or demands for compensation. Instead, the humans listened quietly, asked intelligent questions, and then did something that shocked him completely. They argued among themselves about who would get to go first. "The United States has the largest space program," the American representative insisted. "We should lead the expedition." "But China has more soldiers ready for deployment," the Chinese delegate countered. "We can field the largest army." "Russia has experience with harsh conditions," another voice added. "We are suited for whatever environments we find." Commander Chen raised her hand for silence. "Ambassador Threxus, you mentioned 37 Deathworld species. How do you plan to unite them?" "That is our greatest challenge," Threxus admitted. "Many of these species are territorial and aggressive. They have never encountered aliens before. We are not sure how they will react to contact." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Then you need someone who can speak to warriors, someone who understands survival, combat, and the respect that comes from strength." She looked around the room. You need humans. What are you proposing? Threxus asked. Let us handle the recruitment, Chen said. Give us ships and translators, and we will contact these other Deathworld species ourselves. We will bring them together. The other human leaders began nodding in agreement. Within an hour, they had formed a united front. Earth would provide personnel for the contact missions. The Galactic Council would provide transportation and technology. Together, they would build an army of Deathworlders. 2 weeks later, a fleet of 20 Council ships departed Earth, each carrying a team of human ambassadors and soldiers. Threxus accompanied Commander Chen on the lead vessel, bound for the nearest Deathworld on their list. The planet is called Carvax, Threxus explained as they traveled. It has 3 times Earth's gravity and temperatures that exceed boiling point. The dominant species are the Carvani, massive beings with dense bone and thick armored hide. They are constantly at war with each other. Sounds like home, one of the human soldiers muttered, and the others laughed. Chen studied the briefing data. How do they fight? With brute force, Threxus said. They value strength above all else. Their society is organized around combat prowess. The strongest warriors rule. Then that is how we approach them, Chen decided. We show strength. The landing on Carvax was brutal. The heat was overwhelming, and the gravity made every movement a struggle. Threxus stayed on the ship while Chen and a small team ventured outside in specialized environmental suits. The Carvani found them within minutes. A group of enormous creatures surrounded the humans, each standing 3 meters tall with arms like tree trunks. Their leader stepped forward and growled something in a deep, rumbling language. The translator device crackled. You are soft things in metal shells. You have entered our territory. Why should we not crush you? Chen removed her helmet, exposing her face to the burning air. The Carvani stared in shock as she breathed the superheated atmosphere without dying. What they did not know was that her suit was feeding her processed air through hidden tubes, but the effect was dramatic. We are humans, Chen said. We come from a death world like yours. We are here because there is an enemy that threatens all of us. We want to fight. We came to ask if you want to fight with us. The Carvani leader studied her with small, intelligent eyes. You speak of war. The greatest war the galaxy has ever seen, Chen replied. Against an enemy that has never been defeated. An enemy that even the great civilizations of the stars cannot stop. The Carvani rumbled among themselves. Then the leader made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. Finally, a worthy challenge. We have grown bored fighting each other. Show us this enemy, small human. The Carvani will crush them. It was the first recruitment success, but not the last. Over the following months, human contact teams traveled to Deathworld after Deathworld. Each presented unique challenges. On Toxar, a planet covered in acidic swamps, they encountered the Toxari, amphibious beings whose bodies produced deadly poison. The humans earned their respect by swimming in the acid lakes alongside them, protected by specially designed suits that made them appear fearless. On Frostheim, a world of eternal winter, they found the Fenraki, wolf-like predators who hunted in the endless blizzards. The humans joined their hunting parties, tracking prey through conditions that would freeze most species solid. On Vulcanus, inside the caverns of an active volcanic world, they discovered the Magrani, beings of living stone who fed on molten rock. The humans descended into the fire with them, earning their grudging respect. Each world was different, but the humans adapted to all of them. They learned the customs, fought alongside the locals, and proved themselves worthy of alliance. Slowly, the Deathworld coalition grew. But recruitment was only the first challenge. These species had never worked together. Many of them had never seen aliens before the humans arrived. They did not share languages, cultures, or military traditions. Bringing them together would require more than just diplomacy. We need a command structure, Chen said during a strategy meeting on the flagship. Someone who can give orders that all these species will follow. They will not take orders from strangers, Threxus warned. Most of these species only follow those who prove their strength. Chen smiled. Then we prove our strength. She proposed a tournament. Representatives from each Deathworld species would compete in various challenges, demonstrating their abilities. The winner would earn the respect of all the others. It was risky, but it was the only way to establish leadership that everyone would accept. The tournament was held on a neutral moon, with arenas designed to test different skills. The Carvani dominated the strength competitions. The Fenraki won the tracking and hunting events. The Toxari proved unmatched in stealth and poison resistance. But the final challenge was different. It was a simulation of the Void swarm attack, based on data from actual battles. Participants had to survive waves of enemy forces while protecting a civilian population. The Deathworld species threw themselves at the simulated enemy with ferocity and power. They fought bravely, but one by one they fell. Their aggressive tactics left them exposed to the swarm's overwhelming numbers. Then Commander Chen entered the arena. She did not charge at the enemy. Instead, she analyzed their patterns, found their weaknesses, and coordinated defensive positions. She used the terrain to create choke points. She sacrificed ground strategically to draw the enemy into traps. She thought several moves ahead, anticipating what the swarm would do before they did it. When the simulation ended, Chen was the only participant who had protected all the civilians while destroying the enemy force completely. The Deathworld species stared at her with new respect. They had expected humans to be weak compared to them. They had not expected humans to be smart. Strength is not enough, Chen told them afterward. The Void Swarm has strength. They have numbers beyond counting. To defeat them, we need more than power. We need strategy, coordination, and the willingness to work together. I am offering to lead you, not because I am the strongest, but because I can help you win. The Carvani leader was the first to respond. He walked to Chen and knelt before her, a gesture of respect that Threxus had never seen from his kind. The Carvani will follow you, Commander Chen. Show us how to crush this enemy. One by one, representatives from each Deathworld species made similar pledges. By the end of the day, Commander Sarah Chen had become the first Supreme Commander of the Deathworld Alliance. The Deathworld Alliance established its base of operations on a barren moon at the edge of Council space. Here, far from the prying eyes of the civilized worlds, Commander Chen began the impossible task of turning 37 species into a unified fighting force. The challenges were enormous. The Carvani and the Fenraki nearly went to war over sleeping arrangements. The Toxari accidentally poisoned a water supply, putting 50 soldiers in medical care. The Magrani set fire to an entire barracks because they found the temperature uncomfortably cold. Chen handled each crisis with patience and creativity. She created separate living quarters suited to each species' needs. She established clear rules about interacting with other species' resources. She appointed human liaisons to each group, soldiers who would learn their customs and translate between cultures. But the biggest challenge was combat integration. Each species fought differently. The Carvani preferred frontal assaults, using their massive bodies to crush opposition. The Fenraki were ambush predators, striking from shadows and vanishing before the enemy could respond. The Toxari excelled at infiltration and assassination. The Magrani were living siege weapons, slow but virtually indestructible. Chen studied their strengths and weaknesses for weeks. Then she began designing a new kind of military doctrine. "We will not try to make you fight the same way," she announced at a commander's meeting. "Instead, we will create units that combine your different abilities. Each species will do what they do best, and together we will cover each other's weaknesses." She demonstrated with holographic simulations. Fenraki scouts would locate enemy positions. Toxari infiltrators would disable defenses and create confusion. Then Carvani assault troops would charge through the openings, supported by Magrani heavy units. Human commanders would coordinate everything, adjusting tactics in real time based on battlefield conditions. "This is how we will fight," Chen said, "not as separate species but as one army." Training began immediately. It was brutal. Species that had never worked together were forced to coordinate complex maneuvers. Communication systems had to be developed that could translate dozens of languages instantly. Logistics teams struggled to provide food, equipment, and medical care suitable for creatures with radically different biologies. There were fights, accidents, and moments when the whole alliance seemed ready to fall apart. But Chen never gave up. She was everywhere, solving problems, settling disputes, and reminding everyone why they were there. "The Void Swarm destroyed my colony," a young Carvani warrior told her one night. "They killed my family. I came here for revenge, but these other species test my patience." Chen put a hand on his massive arm. "I understand, but revenge will not bring your family back. What we are building here, this alliance, it can save other families, other worlds. We are fighting for the future, not the past." The Carvani looked down at her, this small, soft creature who had somehow earned the loyalty of the galaxy's deadliest beings. "You truly believe we can win?" "I believe in all of you," Chen said. "Every species here has survived conditions that would kill anything else. You are the strongest, toughest, most stubborn beings in the galaxy. The Void Swarm has never faced anything like us." Slowly, the training began to show results. Units that had been chaotic became coordinated. Species that had distrusted each other started to form bonds. Soldiers shared stories around meal fires, learning about worlds they had never imagined. Ambassador Threxus watched it all with amazement. He had expected the Deathworlders to be savage and primitive. Instead, he found cultures as rich and complex as any in the Council. The Fenraki had poetry and philosophy. The Carvani had art carved from volcanic stone. The Toxari had music that could bring tears to any species' eyes. "I was wrong about them," he admitted to Chen one day. "We all were. We saw only their strength and danger. We did not see their hearts." Chen nodded. "That is how most species see each other at first, fear of the unknown. But when you fight alongside someone, you learn who they really are. That is what we are building here. Not just an army, but a community." After 6 months of training, the Deathworld Alliance was ready for its first test. Scouts reported that a Void Swarm fleet was approaching a world called Teller 4, home to 1 billion peaceful beings who had no military capability. The Council had written them off as lost. Chen refused to accept that. "We will defend Teller 4, she declared. "This is why we exist." The Alliance fleet jumped to Teller 4 and found the swarm already in orbit. Thousands of black ships hung in space like a cloud of death. Chen studied the enemy formation from the bridge of her flagship, surrounded by officers from a dozen species. "They have the numerical advantage," Admiral Yeltris said through a communication link. He had been assigned to observe the battle. "Standard military doctrine suggests retreat." "We are not using standard doctrine," Chen replied. "All units execute attack pattern Delta." The battle that followed would be studied by military academies for centuries. Fenraki stealth ships slipped through the swarm formation, creating confusion and disrupting communications. Toxari boarding parties breached enemy vessels, turning their own ships against them. Carvani assault carriers punched holes in the enemy line, followed by Magrani heavy cruisers that absorbed incredible punishment while delivering devastating broadsides. Chen coordinated it all, issuing orders with calm precision even as chaos erupted around her. She seemed to see the entire battlefield at once, anticipating enemy movements and exploiting weaknesses before they were visible to anyone else. The Void Swarm had never encountered an enemy like this. Their usual tactics, overwhelming force and relentless assault, failed against opponents who refused to break. Deathworld's soldiers fought with a ferocity that matched the swarm's own, and their coordinated tactics multiplied their effectiveness. After 8 hours of brutal combat, the Void Swarm fleet retreated. It was the first time in 300 cycles that the swarm had been driven back from a target world. When the news reached the Galactic Council, there was stunned silence, then celebration. The impossible had happened. The Void Swarm could be beaten. But Chen knew this was only the beginning. The swarm would return with more ships. They would adapt their tactics. The Alliance had won a battle, but the war was far from over. "We have shown them we can fight," she told her commanders. "Now we must show them we can win." The victory at Teller 4 changed everything. Species that had dismissed the Deathworld Alliance as a desperate gamble now sent requests to join. Resources flowed in from worlds that wanted protection. The Council finally recognized the Alliance as an official military force. But with success came new challenges. The swarm had taken notice of this new threat. Their attacks became more targeted, more strategic. They began hunting for the Alliance's base of operations. Chen responded by going on the offensive. Instead of waiting for swarm attacks, she sent raiding parties to strike their supply lines. Fenraki scouts located hidden swarm bases. Toxari assassins eliminated key commanders. The Alliance hit hard and fast, never staying in one place long enough to be trapped. The swarm adapted. They developed countermeasures against Toxari poisons. They created new sensors to detect Fenraki stealth ships. They built specialized units designed to fight specific Deathworld species. "They are learning," Threxus warned. "The swarm has some kind of collective intelligence. Every battle teaches them something new." "Then we have to learn faster," Chen replied. She established a research division within the Alliance, combining scientists from every species to study the swarm's technology and biology. They discovered weaknesses that no one had found before. The swarm's communication network was vulnerable to certain frequencies. Their ship's armor had a resonance point that could be exploited with the right weapons. Most importantly, they found the heart of the swarm. Deep in the galactic core, hidden in a region of space that sensors could not penetrate, lay the swarm's home system. This was where their leaders lived, where their fleets were built, where their collective intelligence was centered. "If we can destroy their home system, we end the war," Chen said. "But getting there will be the most dangerous mission we have ever attempted." The plan took months to develop. They would need to fight through layer after layer of swarm defenses. They would need to navigate a region of space filled with black holes, radiation, and gravitational anomalies. And at the end, they would need enough firepower to destroy an entire star system. "This is suicide," Admiral Yeltris said when he saw the plans. "No fleet has ever penetrated that deep into swarm territory." "No fleet has ever been like this one," Chen replied. She gathered the Alliance commanders and explained the mission. She did not hide the dangers. She told them honestly that many of them would not return. Then she asked for volunteers. Every single commander volunteered. The Carvani leader spoke for all of them. "We did not join this alliance to live forever. We joined to find a battle worthy of our strength. You have given us that battle, Commander Chen. We will follow you to the heart of the enemy." The fleet departed on a day that would later be celebrated as Victory Day across the galaxy. 1,200 ships, carrying soldiers from 37 species, jumped into unknown space. Their destination, the swarm home system. The journey took weeks. The swarm knew they were coming and threw everything they had at the advancing fleet. Battle after battle raged in the darkness between stars. Ships were lost, soldiers died, but the fleet pushed forward. Chen barely slept. She spent every moment on the bridge, coordinating the massive campaign. When a Carvani cruiser was disabled, she organized a rescue mission. When Fenraki scouts were ambushed, she led the counterattack personally. She knew every ship, every soldier, every sacrifice. "You cannot keep going like this," Threxus told her after finding her collapsed at her command station. "You will kill yourself before we reach the target." "I will rest when the war is over," Chen said. "Until then, my soldiers are fighting and dying. I will not abandon them." Threxus shook his gray head. "I have studied many species, Commander. I have never seen one like yours. Humans should not exist. Your world should have killed you. Your history should have destroyed you. And yet here you are, leading the galaxy's strongest warriors into the most dangerous mission ever attempted." Chen smiled wearily. "Maybe that is why we are here. Because we have survived everything else, we know how to survive this too." Finally, after losing nearly a third of the fleet, they reached the swarm home system. What they found was beyond anything they had imagined. A massive structure orbited the central star, a construct larger than most planets. This was the swarm's brain, the central node that coordinated their entire species. Surrounding it were more ships than anyone had ever counted, a defensive force that seemed infinite. "By the ancestors," the Carvani commander breathed, "we cannot fight all of that." "We do not have to," Chen said. "We only have to reach the central structure. If we destroy that, the rest will fall." She outlined the final plan. The fleet would divide into two forces. The main force would engage the swarm defenses, drawing as many ships as possible into battle. A small strike team would break through the chaos and reach the central structure, carrying weapons powerful enough to destroy it. "Who leads the strike team?" the Fenraki commander asked. Chen looked at the holographic display for a long moment. "I do," she said quietly. "This mission is too important to trust to anyone else." The Deathworld commanders erupted in protest. They could not lose their supreme commander on a suicide mission. The Alliance needed her leadership. "The Alliance needs to win," Chen replied. "And I am the best chance we have of making that happen. You have all followed me this far. Trust me one more time." One by one, the commanders fell silent. They did not like it, but they understood. This was the moment everything had been building toward. The battle for the swarm home system began at dawn of the local star. 800 Alliance ships spread across the void, facing a defensive force that outnumbered them 10 to 1. It should have been an impossible fight. But the Deathworlders had never cared about impossible. Carvani battleships led the charge, their massive hulls absorbing punishment that would have destroyed any Council vessel. Fenraki fighters wove through enemy formations, too fast and agile to target. Toxari boarding crews breached swarm command ships, spreading chaos through the enemy ranks. Migrani dreadnoughts advanced slowly but relentlessly, their weapons carving paths through the defensive lines. Chen watched the battle unfold from her strike vessel, a small fast ship crewed by volunteers from every species in the Alliance. They waited at the edge of the combat zone, looking for their moment. "There," Chen said, pointing to a gap forming in the swarm defenses. "That is our path, all power to engines." The strike ship shot forward. Behind them, the battle raged on. Ahead of them, the central structure loomed larger and larger until it filled the entire viewscreen. Swarm interceptors moved to block them. The strike ship's gunners, a pair of Fenraki with lightning reflexes, shot them down almost as fast as they appeared, but more kept coming. "Hull damage on the port side," a Toxari engineer reported. "We are losing atmosphere in 3 compartments." "Seal them and keep going," Chen ordered. "We are almost there." The ship shuddered under another impact. Alarms wailed. Smoke filled the bridge, but the structure was right in front of them now, close enough to see its alien architecture in detail. "Landing bay identified," the pilot called out. 30 seconds to arrival." The ship crashed through the bay's defensive screen and skidded across the deck, grinding to a halt in a shower of sparks. Chen was already moving before the vessel stopped, leading her team through the hatch and into the heart of the enemy. The interior of the structure was like nothing they had ever seen, Organic walls pulsed with strange light. Corridors twisted in directions that seemed to defy physics. The air was thick with the chemical signals the swarm used to communicate. They encountered resistance immediately. Swarm warriors poured from side passages, their claws and fangs gleaming in the organic light. The strike team fought back with everything they had. A Carvani soldier held the rear, his massive body blocking an entire corridor while his comrades advanced. He killed dozens of swarm warriors before they finally brought him down, and his last act was to pull a grenade and take another 50 with him. A Fenraki scout ran ahead, clearing the path with her speed and precision. When she was wounded, she kept fighting, refusing to stop until the venom in her blood claimed her. A Toxari infiltrator sacrificed himself to hold a critical junction, releasing his entire store of poison to create a zone no swarm warrior could cross. Chen watched her soldiers fall one by one. Each death was a wound to her heart, but she could not stop. She could not let their sacrifices be wasted. Finally, they reached the central chamber. It was vast, filled with a pulsing organic mass that Chen recognized as the swarm's collective brain. Billions of neural connections linked it to every swarm ship, every warrior, every world they had consumed. "Plant the charges," Chen ordered. Only 4 of her team remained, all of them wounded. A voice echoed through the chamber, translated by Chen's equipment into something she could understand. It was the swarm itself, speaking through its central mind. "You cannot destroy us," the voice said. "We are eternal. We are the end of all things. Every species falls to us eventually. Why do you resist?" Chen set the last charge and looked up at the pulsing mass. "Because that is what we do," she said. "We are Deathworlders. We have survived everything the universe has thrown at us. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And we do not lose." "You will die here," the swarm said. "Maybe," Chen replied, "but so will you." She activated the detonator. The explosion was visible from the battle raging outside. The central structure came apart in a flash of light that briefly outshone the local star. The effect on the swarm was immediate and catastrophic. Without their collective intelligence to coordinate them, the swarm ships went mad. Some attacked each other. Some simply stopped moving, drifting dead in space. The defensive fleet dissolved into chaos. The Alliance ships pressed their advantage. What had been a desperate battle became a rout. By the end of the day, the swarm forces in the home system were destroyed. But there was no celebration. Search teams combed through the wreckage of the central structure, looking for survivors. They found only bodies and debris. Then, against all odds, they found Chen. She was barely alive, trapped in a pocket of atmosphere created when part of the structure collapsed around her. Her wounds were severe, and she had lost consciousness from blood loss, but her heart was still beating. The Carvani commander who found her wept, great tears rolling down his armored face. "She lives," he transmitted to the fleet. "The commander lives." The cheers that erupted across every Alliance ship could be heard in space. Chen spent weeks in a medical facility, recovering from her injuries. When she finally emerged, she found a changed galaxy waiting for her. The void swarm was not completely destroyed. Scattered remnants still existed in distant parts of space, but without their central intelligence, they were no longer a galactic threat. They had become just another danger in a universe full of dangers. The Galactic Council held a ceremony to honor the Alliance. Representatives from every civilized world attended. They gave medals, made speeches, and promised eternal gratitude. But the most important moment came afterward, when the 37 Deathworld species gathered in private. "What happens now?" the Carvani leader asked. "The war is over. Do we return to our worlds? Do we go back to being alone?" Chen looked at the beings around her, these warriors who had become family. "The Alliance was built to fight a war," she said, "but it became something more. We found each other. We learned that we are not alone in the universe. Do we really want to lose that? The Fenraki commander spoke. On my world we say that those who hunt together become pack. We have hunted together. We are pack now. The Toxari representative nodded. Our poison is less dangerous when shared among many. We are stronger together than apart. The Magrani leader rumbled agreement. Our fires burn brighter when combined. Let us not separate what we have forged. One by one, every species affirmed their commitment to the alliance, not as a temporary military force, but as a permanent community. Deathworlders united, standing together against whatever challenges the universe might bring. Chen felt tears on her cheeks. Then the alliance continues, she said. We will build something new together, not just for war but for peace. We will share our knowledge, our cultures, our worlds. And when the next threat comes, whatever it is, we will face it together. Ambassador Threxus watched from the doorway. He had come to observe, as his kind always did. But for the first time in his long life, he did not feel like an observer. He felt like he was witnessing something historic. The civilized galaxy had looked at deathworlds and seen only danger. They had not understood that danger could become strength, that adversity could forge bonds stronger than any treaty. These 37 species, led by a small human from a blue world called Earth, had saved the galaxy, and now they would help shape its future. Humanity, it seemed, had finally found its place among the stars, not as visitors or newcomers but as leaders, as protectors, as family. And somewhere in the darkness of space, watching the celebrations from her flagship's observation deck, Commander Sarah Chen smiled. The war was over. The real work was just beginning. But that was exactly how she liked it.